So if you're like me, you might ride with a mate or two that run radar detectors. For myself, it's been something I've been thinking about for a while, since I've considered myself quite lucky over the years regarding my cruising speeds. So after carefully considering and reviewing my options, I recently pulled the trigger on one of these. Well, I quickly realised that buying the detector was the easy part of running a detector on a bike. So if you're considering getting one for your bike and are interested in setup options, then this video is for you. Let's get into it after the introduction. Today we're doing a full walkthrough on setting up a radar detector for motorcycle use. Now of course there's many ways to skin a cat, but this is the setup that I've chosen, and I'll explain my reasoning and decisions along the way, because there's more to just throwing it on and hoping for the best. Actually a lot more. If you're wanting a clean functional setup that actually works when you're out there carving up the windies or burning up the highway miles. Before we get into the install, there are four main considerations for an effective and efficient setup. The detector itself, what's best suited to me and my budget, mounting options, how and where are you going to mount this thing, powering the unit, hardwire this thing into your loom or just tap into auxiliary power, receiving alerts and notifications from the detector, flashing lights or audio into your helmet. How do you go about getting the crucial information from the unit as quickly as possible? Let's look into each in more detail and break down what you need to consider and decisions you need to make to get the best setup for you, as well as getting this thing installed and working as it should on the bike. Firstly, of course, buying the right detector. Not all of them are built equal. You want something with good range, GPS for lockouts, and since you're on a bike, compact's kind of the key here. You're not mounting this on a big dashboard. So in my case, I'm running the Uniden R4. It's a solid long-range performer, compact size, GPS lockouts, sleep mode, so that it shuts down when you're parked up, plus all the important to me, Bluetooth capability, since I really don't want to be tethered to the bike by wires, and I'm not a fan of the flashing light solution. In reality, the Bluetooth's another story, but we'll get into that a bit later. You might have other priorities, but for me, R4 ticks all the boxes. But when you are comparing detectors, make sure that you're comparing apples with apples. The cheaper units are cheaper for a reason. Here in New Zealand, like most parts of the world, it's the KA band that's most important. Laser detection is fine, but know that your detector picks up a laser, your speed's already been locked on in the laser gun's readout. While detector settings is beyond the scope of this video today, you can check out the Vortex radar channel for pretty much everything that you need to know about just about every detector that's out there. There will be a link in the description below. There are also plenty of regional specific forums and Facebook groups out there with plenty of experts that can help you with your detector settings to maximize effectiveness and minimize false alerts. Everywhere is different, and there's really no default settings. Anyway, here's everything I had to buy to get my setup how I like it. So now mounting, there's more here to consider than you might realize, but generally you want a quick release type mount over the one with the four arms, the claw looking one, to hold the plaything in place. Hardwiring the unit onto your bike is less common, but not unknown. Most common is to mount on the handlebars and the top of your steering head. The unit is still effective behind perspex and plastic, such as your screen and fairings, but not blocking your view of the dash and gauges. So you should consider a mount that ensures the detector has a clear forward view and isn't obscured by the dash either. For countries like New Zealand that drive on the left-hand side of the road, you want to mount this thing as far to the right of your center of your bike as possible, so it's going to be more effective at picking up roadside signals. Right side of the road countries, of course, you mount it on the left side as far to the left as you can get to make it more efficient angle. Like any electronic device, detectors are susceptible to damage from long-term exposure to micro vibrations, okay, so from your motor. So some insulation from the vibration engine should be considered. There are some mounts out there that are designed with an anti-vibration feature, rubber mounts, but a piece of rubber cut out of an old tube somewhere and put into some part of your mounting setup will probably have a similar effect. Since most of us will be taking the unit off and on, there's several brands out there that offer a quick release design. I picked the ram mount setup for mine. It's solid, modular, and you can tweak the positioning however you like it very easily. The mount goes onto the bars, short arm or long arm, and the magnetic Powerplate III cradle for the R4, and it's done. I picked the Powerplate base head because, as I mentioned, it's a quick release, clean design. Better, in my opinion, than the claw type. The magnetic base will not affect the detector's effectiveness at all. It holds steady even on rough back roads and doesn't look too bulky. I'm going to add an elastic strap as an extra safety measure, since the weak link of this mount, in my opinion, is the double-sided tape that fixes the steel plate to the underside of the detector. I know from experience that stickiness can degrade over time, and you don't want an expensive piece of plastic bouncing down the road later on. I'll put a full list of components in the video description. Now, power. Radar detectors needed, of course, since they don't have internal power. Well, none of the models that I'm aware of anyway. So there are a few options here. Hardwired into your ignition circuit is probably the best way to go. You turn the key on, your detector turns on, you turn the key off, and it turns off. You'll never ever get caught out with a dead battery, thanks to forgetting to turn your detector off if you've got it wired directly to your battery. Detectors are low amp users, so you can tap into pretty much anywhere on your ignition circuit. Think running lights, or you could do it properly, install auxiliary junction box or something like that, an Oxford, for example, or similar. It's an easy way to connect multiple accessories once you have it wired in. Keeps your battery area tidy as well. Since the R4 has sleep mode, when you park, it shuts down after a while, so no parasitic drain, no switch needed, clean and simple. You could do it straight to the battery. And of course, you do have the option of tapping into the auxiliary battery tender plug if you have one fitted. Or if you do go direct to the battery, make sure you've got a 5 amp fuse, inline fuse. You could also wire it into a switch source if you're worried, but I don't know. I like this way, no drama, always powered on when I need it, so the detector handles itself. Infrared ignition system's the way to go. Since these detectors are designed principally for cars, the power cables on them are generally huge, curly monstrosities like this. Okay, using the traditional cigarette lighter plug. So an aftermarket, non-curly power cable went onto my shopping list. Also, the detector end of the power cable uses a plug similar to a phone plug, if you remember the old phones, if you're of that generation. So it's known as an RJ11 plug. AliExpress is your friend here. So whatever you decide to use for the other end, just make sure you get the polarity right. And finally, how the hell do you actually hear this thing? Let's have a little chat about that. So you're not in the car with speakers blasting KA band warnings. You need to pipe alerts into your helmet. Here's your options. A visual alert system like the adaptive TPX visual alert. This is a little LED and your peripheral vision of your helmet sits right up in there, just inside your visor, or else you could have it on the dash. That works, but the problem is you have no idea what freak is triggering the alert. And if your detector's not configured optimally, you might be reacting to all sorts of false alerts triggered by a poor filter setup. Or you could use a combination of visual and audio, and the cleanest, most effective kit for this is, in my opinion, the Radar Detector Audio and Visual Alert System by Motor Mounts. I'll put a link to the system in the video description, including a 10% discount code if you decide to go that way. What I really wanted is a voice on my helmet telling me what's going on. So how do we get the voice into the helmet? Well, since I already have a card on my helmet with a spare Bluetooth slot, I prefer a Bluetooth solution. Now you can use a Bluetooth dongle, $15 off AliExpress, and that'll get you the actual detector alerts into the Cardo or whatever comms device you're using. Or you can use a phone app such as the RTAC by Uniden or the very good Highway Radar app. Now, the detector will connect to the app, not the phone. Then the phone's connected to your communication device, your headset device, of course. But the detector you won't get the detector's own alert sounds. You'll get the app's alert sounds. So you'll have to learn two different tones, I guess, for alerts. You won't get the full detector original alert sounds. But you do have the advantage of being wireless direct and no dongle to be connected and charged, and all that comes with using a dongle setup. I'm going to try both the dongle method and the Highway Radar app solution, and I'll report back in the description after I've given both a fair crack. The Highway Radar app, even without the detector, is a great tool for real-time alerts on road conditions. It's got a radar, and police incidents and accidents, roadworks, speed traps, and all that sort of stuff. Can't I just connect to the GPS slot in my Cardo, I hear you ask? Well, no, actually. As I found out, much to my consternation, the Bluetooth that Uniden and others use is what they call LE protocol. LE meaning low energy. So why is that important? Okay, well, LE uses GATT, G-A-T-T. Basically, small bursts of data, small values, sends it up the line, and then goes back to sleep. So although there are now LE solutions with audio capability, they're not as yet built into detector technology. The Highway Radar app, for example, once your phone is connected to the detector, can read the LE signals and bridge the alerts back to voice and into your Cardo or your center or whatever. The app also gives you audio cues, camera locations, real-time alerts and stuff if you're running the phone tethered to the detector. Smooth setup, no faffing about. The big question for me is it reliable connection every time? That's what we're going to find out. One important last thing before we wrap up this video, and that is to know that with the exception of the TPX, no radar detector is waterproof. In fact, they're decidedly not waterproof. So don't forget this when you're out and about. Even a Ziploc bag will probably do the job at a pinch. Any plastic solution won't affect the detection of radar waves. Contrary to some rumors out there, rain has a very limited effect on the efficiency of police radars and your detector. So riding in the rain doesn't give you a free pass. So that's it. A full working setup, R4 detector, RAM mounted, hardwired into the battery and or auxiliary pack. Audio alerts fed right into the helmet. Clean, reliable, gives you a fighting chance on the open road runs. So what's the total cost for my setup? Well, let's have a look. The R4 retails for about 1,000 New Zealand dollars. You have the RAM mounts. It's about 100 New Zealand dollars for those, maybe a little bit more. Power cables were $20 or less, thanks to AliExpress. Bluetooth dongle, also off AliExpress, $16. So the total cost of the detector and all installation components comes to just over 1,100 New Zealand dollars. Now you could do as I did and grab some of the mount components off AliExpress as well, which does save you a few bucks. I'll drop a full component list and price breakdown and links in the description as well. If you're setting up one yourself and have questions, drop them in the comments. I'll walk you through what I did. Or for the actual detector, internal settings, filters, bandwidths and stuff like that, I recommend checking out RD Forum. It's an awesome online resource free of course to join. That link also be in the description. So ride safe, ride smart. I'll see you on the road sometime.